Eventual game winner, 31-28 your final. The Giants scoring 28 unanswered points to complete this comeback. 31 points in the second half after scoring 0 in their first 6 quarters of the season. In studio with NFL analyst Ryan Wilson. Ryan, I don't know we can overstate, understate, or just react to what was, but how big was that final 30 minutes of this game for the Giants? Not just here, but for this season after being held scoreless through 6 quarters.
For the season, absolutely, because this was such a roller coaster move. So it was one of those games where if you had just shown up after work today and looked at the score, you're like, oh, they won. Finally, they're back on track. But we were in a situation where it was 60-0 in terms of points scored against the Giants and points scored for the Giants. And they got it together in those final 30 minutes, as you mentioned. They paid Dan Jones. I like calling him Dan when he's more official over the final 30 minutes there. They paid him, and he sort of looked like that guy. Now, we'll see where Saquon Barkley is with what looked like a pretty serious injury there. Fingers crossed he's healthy. But they stepped up in the second half. They outplayed a not great Cardinals team, for being honest with ourselves, and it's a huge win in an incredibly competitive division, and they could not drop to 0-2.
I mean, you're talking about getting blanked through 6 quarters, and then you find 31 in the second half. Looked a lot more like the team we expected, as you said, but it also begs the question of who is this team? Probably somewhere between those two.
You know, it's funny, we talked about this, you as a Bears fan. The Bears don't seem to have life for any number of reasons. It was unclear why the Giants got off to such a slow start last week and that 40-0 blanking. At first, the offense couldn't do anything, and then early today in Arizona, the defense no-showed, and they finally figured it out. Brian Daboll must have given a pretty impassioned halftime speech, and everyone seemed to be on the same page. It's something you can build on. And like I said, they're 1-1 in the division now with games coming up this Thursday, short turnaround this week at San Francisco, and then Seattle and at Miami. We'll get to those games when they unfold in the coming weeks, but you could not get out of Arizona with a loss against a team that's been in the Caleb Williams conversation for over a month.
I don't appreciate you bringing me into this. I want that stated for the record. That was in the 1 p.m. window. That is in our rear view. We don't have to worry about it until
We're on next week.
Some teams might have to worry about the Cardinals here. I mean, this is back-to-back weeks. Losses, yes, but a good game plan, well executed at times. They're going to be probably an in-the-way team, but maybe more in the way than we assumed. What have you made of them through 2 games?
So the concern was, why are you cutting Colt McCoy days before the season began? Why are you trading for Josh Dobbs, who does have a relationship with the offensive coordinator from their time together in Cleveland? Turns out they do have a plan. Now, we talked a lot this offseason about Shane Steichen, what he'd do in Indianapolis. Turns out Jonathan Gannon, the defensive coordinator from that Eagle staff, he has a plan as well. Not as gregarious, perhaps, as some of your top-line coaches. He's not Mike Tomlin, for example. He's not Mike Vrabel. But he seems to be getting the most out of this team. They seem to be buying in, and they're doing it with a journeyman quarterback in Josh Dobbs, and you have to give them credit for that. Now, James Conner played today like he was one of the best players in NFL history, at least in the first half, and you have to build on those things, build around your pieces on offense. We saw Hollywood Brown have a touchdown, and those are things that you can go back and say, there are no moral victories in the NFL, of course, Joe, but you can go back and say, look, we are going in the right direction. We are building this franchise. We have 2 first-round picks next April. Let's keep this thing going, be an in-the-way team in a good way, and then figure things out a year or 2 down the line.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anybody in that locker room is playing with Caleb Williams in mind.
No.
Right now, the objective is something different for the Cardinals. Back on the Giants here for a moment. As we said, wishing the best for Saquon Barkley. We know he has torn an ACL in the past, got rolled up in an ugly fashion there late in this one as the Giants were driving to take that lead. I don't want to do the with or without Saquon thing, but who does this team have to be over these next couple weeks? You're looking at big-time matchups. You got the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Dolphins, and the Bills straight ahead of you, and you got to be who you were in those final 30 minutes.
I mean, Daniel Jones obviously needs to continue to play better, and I think one of the things that has to happen, the offensive line has to improve. They have the 2 bookend offensive tackles, both first-round picks. We've seen Thomas come into his own. We need to see that from the right tackle. That has not been the case. And again, wherever Saquon Barkley's future is in the next few weeks, Daniel Jones is going to have to play like he's been paid to play. And then I'll go to the other side of the football. We've seen those rookie cornerbacks actually play pretty well. One of the few bright spots in the 2 games we've seen here. Defense came alive in the second half. We need to see them get after it more, pressure the quarterback more, use those players up front, Dex Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, to create pressure on the quarterback.